Our next speaker is Toledo from 4Players, who is going to talk about giving minorities a voice. So please welcome Patty. Stage is yours.
I said it worked only for me, and then suddenly it wouldn't work anymore. That would be hilarious. So first of all, thank you for being here. I'm Patty Toledo from 4Players. I will tell the way I like doing presentations is I'm going to give you a lot of data, a lot of things that you might or might not agree, so we can always discuss, fight. It's always fun to do this part. And then just in the end, I will tell a little bit about what we do, because that's the least interesting part. I know that you guys want to hear nice things, not about the company itself. But I have a game, and I know Finland is not the easiest place to do this kind of game, but hey, let's try. So the game is the following. There are 80 statements there. 7 are true, 1 is a lie, and you have to try to guess which one is a lie. And I promise it's not easy to do that. So just things that are not that. I'm the marketing director of 4Players. I run IGDA Sweden. I help Still Media with Pocket Gamer. I don't have a life. I work too much. But besides that, I have been working in the creative industry for the last 30 years, which I know it's impossible because I look only 27, but hey. I have worked with most non-rock bands around the world, including Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, Metallica, Megadeth, the list goes on and on. The last time I counted, I worked with 147 different bands. And I was dragging for you to come here, Yanni. I couldn't do the presentation without your emotional support. Yeah, okay, it's Natasha's fault, you know that. And then I was almost married the singer of Iron Maiden. I saw a musician die live on stage. I was a professional MMA fighter for a while. I was never famous though, so you're not gonna find it there. I organized my own first event when I was 18 years old, and I tried to make it a lot bigger than this one and failed miserably. I have a PhD in neuroscience besides other degrees, and I lived in 14 different countries. So which one do you think it's the false one? And Yanni, you cannot say because you know which one is the false one. Oh, I hope you know what is the false one, but by your face, you're not 100% sure either. So come on, go. Oh, I actually did. It was really funny. It wasn't Bruce Dixon, but Blaze Bailey asked me out about 3 times, and I always said no. And then he met another Brazilian girl, went on a date, and married her 2 weeks afterwards, 2 months afterwards, which I was like, I didn't want him anyway, so it's all good. But no, that's actually true. Yeah. No, I was actually 18, and I actually organized the event, but I didn't know much what I did. So I did my first rock festival when I was 18 by myself, and people, kind of like fire. It happened a little bit like that in a sense that people found out that they could enter from, it wasn't a very open area, so people realized that they could enter from any other place for free and didn't need to pay the ticket. So it was like, yeah. But hey, the concert happened, people were happy, not much the bands, but they survived. I'm still here, so it's a good thing. One more chance. And you cannot say because you know what it is. You definitely know what it is. I do not have a PhD in neuroscience. I have 2 masters and 2 degrees, but I never did my PhD. So I actually tried to do a Big Bang joke and I like Maya, but no, it's all good. I know. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. I always do this joke for myself. Which one? The one that almost married me or the one that actually did? It actually was a Japanese musician. He had an aneurysm on stage and died, and in front of everybody. It was horrible. Like and shit happens. So, okay, my presentation has only 4 parts. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the current state of the industry, then reasons we should care about minorities when we're talking about games, how we can change the industry together, or how I think we could do it, because there aren't many untold truths that follow this recipe and we can get there, but some ideas of what we could do, and then some takeaways, taking away also who am I and why I am here. So, Jenny will love this. So Martin Luther King said once that almost always the creative, dedicated minority has made the world better. I'm not saying I fully believe in this, but I think it's interesting that there is this view that if you are a minority, you can immediately make things better. So it's a good point of discussion to say, does being a minority make a difference on what is the outcome? But you can fight me later, Yanni. We can always fight later. Not that way. Okay, the overview. Take this data a little bit with a grain of salt, because the more I research about the state of the industry and percentages that are being presented, the more I find that there are a lot of discrepancies depending on what is the point of view of the research and what is the average audience that has been asked about. But just for us to have the discussion here, found that 79% of the video game main characters are male, and 40% of all gaming industry employees are UEGs, or part of the underrepresented ethnic group. No? I found it really interesting, especially the second, because there is a lot of things talking about gaming industry is not diverse enough, but when you actually go and look around, 40% is not actually a bad number. Then 46% of the video game main characters are BIPOC individuals, which means, if you don't know what BIPOC is, Black, Indigenous, or people of color, which is also interesting, which means that you have a lot of male characters in the gaming industry, but they are not necessarily white male characters anymore. So there is a shift on how the characters are being shown. But 45% of the gamers nowadays are women. So you have quite a balance between players that didn't happen. When I started in the gaming industry, the amount of women that played games were a lot lower. Nowadays, we have 45%. But you see that that's not always shown in the video games themselves. And when they are shown, it's not necessarily the representation that I would like women to have, and this is a very personal thing, like having women in very tiny bikinis and big boobs and fighting with a sword this big but no shield is funny, to say the least. This is changing, though. So, oh, did I jump on? No, I didn't. Okay. So, 2 things that have been happening when it comes with games and creative media. And I put this because when we're talking about the tech industry, you're also talking about the metaverse. We're talking about all these UGC platforms. There are a lot going on that is more than just games, but it's still related with the industry that we are working now. Nowadays, you have the Afrotech, that is the first ever Black metaverse. And you also have the tech giants like Meta trying to control the metaverse. Do you see the discrepancy here? From one side, you have minority groups deeply trying to create spaces for them to express themselves, while you have tech giants trying to take over while saying that they will be diverse themselves. And just a curiosity, like show of hands, how many people here do believe that Meta is actually gonna be diverse and inclusive? For the record, nobody lifted their hands. Like when we talk about big tech, it's quite hard to believe that the promises that Zuckerberg give will be actually done and not a marketing stunt, right? For the gamer side, we are game developers here and we love games, but it's really important that we understand how the gamers are doing. Although there are more gamers, well, female gamers, and they are play. And when I say gamers, I don't talk only esports and professional gamers or AAA game. I mean players in general, everybody that loves games. If you play mobile game, you are a gamer as well. Like people underestimate the fact that if you are playing mobile games for hours and hours, you have the right to be called a gamer as well. A lot of the women, especially in this is a lot in multiplayer games, they get a lot of harassment and a lot of comments. Still, there is a lot of these comments of women don't know how to play, you don't know what you're talking about. If you're a woman, you're a newbie, you are the reason why we're not winning this competition. And although it's horrible to think of, the more you dig into it, the more you find it. This is still a constant. And we're talking that a lot of these people commenting are very loud teenagers, or at least I hope they are very loud teenagers that will grow out of it. They might not be. The other thing that I found out that I found deeply complicated is the fact that there is an internalized misogyny. There are women that they try to fit in by accepting certain things that males are saying. So they are called like, you're different from the other woman, the other women. So it's almost like you are a bystander that either remains silent or agree in a certain point, so you're not targeted. I'm not saying that these women are also misogynistic. Oh, they might be, because misogyny can happen in both genders as well. But a lot of the cases are women that, to defend themselves, to not be target of the harassment, they just put themselves as bystanders and they don't want to be involved in the discussion, right? And a lot of times being silent is not actually helping the people that are being harassed. And I know this is very heavy, sorry, it's gonna get lighter really soon. One thing that I really liked was a comment from Tanya De Paz. So Tanya De Paz has been created a group called I Need Diverse Games, because what she has been discussing a lot is that the gaming industry is old enough that we should have more diverse characters and more diverse games, and she wants to see herself in the games more and more. That was not part of my presentation, but I had a discussion with Yanni this morning that actually made me think about something. The other extreme, it's also detrimental. If we start seeing games as we have to do everything diverse, and then the white male is the villain at all points because we have to villainize someone, that's also not a good place to be. What we need to have, and what I believe that she's saying, that you have to have a more vast representation, not these black and white representations of genders and races and types, right? And if she didn't mean that, she should. So why does it matter? Because it all these we can have this discussion forever and say like, well, why should we have this discussion? And that's the part that Yanni will start preparing the rock for me here. One thing that we were discussing, games developed with a more diverse character set draw attracts a more diverse audience. This is not an absolute truth, but in creative media, not only in games, but in creative media in general, when the audience wants to connect with the story and with the characters and with the people that they are playing. It doesn't matter if it is in games or in movies. It's not by accident that if you do a hero movie with an Asian hero or a black hero, that community feels represented when they go to the movies to see. People want to be represented on this media. Games is the same thing. This here doesn't mean that we have to do, and again, you may hate me afterwards, but this doesn't mean that we have to start having always black elves, because otherwise, if all the elves are white, they are not fully represented. That's not this extreme. It's more that you have to have all scopes of everything and be open depending on the story. You don't have to insert diversity in everything you do, but you also don't have to diminish that to fit certain standards. It has to be a balance, right? True representation improves the connection with the product. I truly believe that if I can see myself in the video game, it doesn't need to be the main character, but if I can see characters that represent me, and I mean not represent me physically only, represent me as a person. If I can have games where you have these weird women that are punk rockers, for example, that's super cool. I don't care if that woman is white, black, yellow, green, purple. I don't care, but I want to have something that I can connect, right? And the audience likes connecting with their characters. Diverse and inclusive teams force companies to rethink a tone, art, and presentation. I regret a little bit putting it as force, but there is a reason why I put that. Is that if you have a team, and I would use Finland because we are in Finland, if your team is fully Finnish people that all grew up in the same region, with the same ideology, with the same history, the same education, the same thing, you will have a certain way of doing things because that's how you were brought up. If suddenly you have a team where you have Chinese people and Germans and Brazilians and Mexicans, as we were talking on the presentation before, you are forced to start to adapt to that narrative in the team. You can't be the Finnish way 100%. Sisu jumalauta, you can't do that anymore because now you have other cultures in that team that needs to also be heard, that needs to also be taken into consideration. So you start changing the tone of the discussions. A lot of times you are forced to change the language that you are working, and it changes the whole scope of the company. Development teams need to resemble the audience of the product. You're not making games for things, right? You finish, not only, usually when you're, one thing that I learned when I lived here and talk is that first thing that people say, games is a very international business and you guys create games already with an international audience in mind. So it's really helpful if your team also represents the audience that you're trying to reach. Of course, you're not gonna have the whole world in a team, but it helps. This is for me the most important thing of everything. Games are made for the community, not the developers. The games are made for the audience. You're not making games for yourself. You should make a game that you're proud of and that you like and you enjoy doing, but you are not your own audience. You should be thinking what your audience needs. And the creative media, creative media are drivers for broader discussions. I think creative media can be drivers for broader discussions. The problem is that creative media can also be the shaping discussions in a negative or in a not right way. But creative media can be a really powerful tool to change mentalities and to change the way people act, think, and work. It can, keep in mind that can go both ways. That can go in a positive way and can also go in a very negative way. I also like to, when I say metaverse here, I'm not saying blockchain, NFT, or anything of that. I'm saying this idea of having digital worlds where people can hang out, talk, play games, interact, have social interaction at all times, okay? The metaverse can be a very strong platform for identity creation. A lot of people, more than you guys would imagine, are really looking forward and are using these metaverse platforms to express themselves in a way that they are not allowed or it's not possible for them in the real life. This also can have really positive and really negative connotations, right? In the positive side, it allows people to have a really full potential of expression. I cannot be green in this world, but I can be green in the metaverse. Right? I cannot be an elf, but I can be an elf in the games. I can be an elf when I am playing these characters. Right? And it can be a really important tool for anti-racism. It can normalize diversity. It can help people understand and feel that they are part of this community independent of what they are, right? Not only that, they can open a lot of doors, and we found this in the pandemic. In the pandemic, this really started showing that people could learn new skills in the metaverse because they couldn't meet anymore, so they had to do it digitally. They had education. It's a place of equal opportunity because you cannot see how the other person looks. You can just talk to them. I thought this really interesting on the talk before from David, that he was saying that he did this blind way of finding skills, that you couldn't see the race, the color, the gender. You couldn't see anything from but the skills and what the person could bring to the table. And the metaverse allows you to do that as well, or should allow you to do that, right? And it can bridge politics as well, because it's worldwide, is universal. If it's used correctly, it can be a great way to have open discussions and positive outcomes. This is the dream. We are so far from it that it hurts, but this is the dream of what it could be achieved, right? So, what can I do? This is all great, but what the heck can I do? I put 4 points here. I have like 300,000 that we could actually add to this. One of the things is allow equal opportunity, right? Most of all, understanding that the world is not equal. When I say allow equal opportunity, is literally hire people because they are the best for your team. And this is the point that I usually fight with people a lot. If I find out that a company hired me because they have a quota and they want to have a diverse team and they want to hire a woman, and because I'm weird, I really fit the quota well, I get really mad. And I would never work in that company. I want to be hired because I am the best person for that job. And I want to be hired because I know I can add to that team. I don't want to be hired because I'm a woman. And the same happens with everybody. Nobody would feel very valued if they were hired because they are from a certain gender or from a certain sexual orientation, or don't feel quotas. Bring people in the team because they will add something to what you're doing. This is what I mean by equal opportunities. And understand that the world is not equal, which means creating equal opportunities sometimes means that giving opportunity to people that are not quite there yet, but can be if you give them opportunity to be, right? Take risks in game and character design. That was really something that Yanni and I was discussing this morning. You shouldn't create games with diversity in mind if your goal is to fit that marketing tool of, I am diverse, here, buy my game. Shitty move. Shitty move. When you're taking risks because you're trying to push boundaries, and you're trying to do something that is unique and different and interesting. Indie developers have this power. You can create characters that big companies have problem creating because they have other little tabs to fill. They need to have these super profitable games that don't allow certain risks or certain problems. But be careful to not create that just to fill certain gaps. This is very similar to the employment part. Listen actively to your community. Like I said, you're doing a game for the world, not for yourself. So you want to know what your community wants. Listen to them. One of the person that was talking to us this morning, I forgot his name, but he asked a really important question. We say, did anyone ask these communities what kind of representation they want to have in games? Did anyone, or did we just assume that you put a black character there and it's like, yay, okay, I did that. Right? Like, listen to them. What it is a true representation of their culture, right? And always give your players a voice in the safe manner. Like, always try to allow an environment where they can comment, they can talk between themselves and to you in a way that is safe. Right? I have no idea how is the time, and I might have exploded everything, but bear with me. So this is, I'm almost over. This is the part that I just say a little bit what we're doing, and literally is 1 minute. So the company I work for is called 4Players, and we have 2 products. One of them is a 3D voice chat tool for multiplayer games. And our idea is to really make it easy for developers to allow their players to talk while they're playing. While doing that, we're also doing partnership with other companies in a sense to try to make it as safe and inclusive as possible. So for example, we just closed a deal with VoiceMod to have voice modulation on that. So if people are playing, but they want to change their voice, independent of it is for identity or safety or just for fun, they can do that so they are better represented. And for net players, this is Odin, that's the tool. For net players is dedicated servers, because a lot of people, when they are playing multiplayer games, they feel unsafe if they are in the public server, they are being harassed. So with Fortnite players, they can have dedicated servers, play with their friends, kind of filter who they want to play with so they can make sure that they are not in an unsafe manner. And this is just the beginning. We just released Odin. We're really trying to create this environment where the players can have a really good fun when they are playing, while the developers can do it in an easy way and without breaking their bank and in a way that add values to them. And I have a video, and he's not listening to me anymore. And that's the part he's supposed to play the video. So just a sec. See, it's not as easy as
and that's the way I do it. I take it right out of life, suck it in and chew it. I knew it, even though I went ahead and blew it, that I could make a change in my mind.
Thank you. And I hope I was able to keep, like, I have to do the propaganda because in the end, I want to conquer all of you. But I just wanted to say before I finish, thank you. This is an open discussion. Nothing I said here is an absolute truth, and I'm not the Messiah. Don't follow me on that. What I really want is to put this thing so we can discuss and make it better, and little by little start to change the structure as much as possible, and hang around, because that's the part where me and Yanni fight to death. So it's going to be fun. Thank you.